Okay, so you've got a puppy and you're working on potty training, but you are wanting to learn how to read their signals so you know when they need to go out, when they need to go potty, or when they're just playing or doing whatever, so you can catch them before they start to go in the house. So there's a couple key things that I recommend that you do. One, watch them like a hawk. So you've got to basically always be watching them because it only takes a few seconds for your puppy to get just out of sight and start peeing, and you might hear it as they start to pee, or you might notice it several minutes later, in which case it's too late to even correct them or give them guidance or stop them in the act. You've got to catch them in the act if you're going to curb that habit, because if they potty and then 2 minutes later you go over and you see that they peed in the corner or they peed on a plant or just on the carpet or whatever, you can't, like, if you correct them for, if they're sitting in the living room and you see they peed over there, you can't correct them in that moment because really they're just sitting there innocently at that moment and they get in trouble. So you've got to catch them in the act. That's absolutely key. Just like if you've got a small toddler in the house, like, you don't really let them leave your sight. When I say small toddler, more like you've got a baby that just learned to crawl, okay? Like, that's where your puppy's at. You've got a baby who just learned to crawl, is putting everything in their mouth. They can't really be left unattended for more than a few seconds. Think of your puppy like that. They're still in the very, very early stages where they don't fully understand what is okay and what's not okay. They don't necessarily know their own signals yet. You're going to learn that just as quickly as they are. So you've got to always be watching them. Otherwise, expect to have accidents. So the second thing is keep a leash on them even when you're inside. And I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people. It's something that maybe you've never done before. But if I've got a dog that I'm working with on potty training, or even if it's an older dog that's marking a lot, or still hasn't got the potty training thing down, I'm going to leave a leash on. If that's a 6 foot or a 15 foot, like if you've got a longer, lighter, long line, we call it drag line. I'll use that sometimes. But there are two things there. Your dog shouldn't really be outside of that space. Like if you've got a young puppy and you've got a leash on them, like, they should always be within your sight. So really, I usually recommend that the leash either stays on your wrist or on your ankle, at least until you get to the point where you're comfortable. Their accidents are almost gone in the house. They're not just going randomly, and they've earned a little bit more freedom. Then just leave it on so you can see. If your dog goes just outside the doorway, you can still see their leashes right there, so they're not on the other side of the house. Or if you need to, you can step on their leash and guide them back to stay in your space so you can watch them like a hawk. Because if they're roaming all throughout the house, you can't supervise them, you can't stop accidents from happening, and they're more likely to happen when you're not right there. And the other thing is going to be crate your dog when you can't watch them like a hawk. So if you can't watch them like a hawk, put them in their crate. And again, a lot of people will say, should my puppy be in the crate all the time? Well, really, if you can't supervise them, just like we would with our kid, we'd probably put them in a pack and play or in their crib, or in some space that we know they can't hurt themselves or destroy anything. It's the same reason that we're going to crate our dogs if we can't watch them. And we're talking about puppies now. We're talking about puppies specifically because they're prone to having accidents in the house and destroying things and eating things that could hurt them. So we want to prevent those things from happening. And not only do we want to prevent those things in this current moment, but we want to create habits, positive habits moving forward. So we can eliminate the potential for them creating bad habits in the future, as well as hurting themselves right now by crating them when we can't watch them. So if you've got to go take a shower, or if you're cooking dinner and you can't watch your dog, or if you're leaving the house, I recommend crating. Not only is that good for the purpose of keeping your dog safe and working on house training and preventing them from eating anything, but it's also for puppies. They need the rest. Again, just like our young kids, they take naps because they need rest for developmental purposes and so they don't over stress themselves. They don't know when they need rest, and they oftentimes won't stop when they're super tired. So it's healthy for them to have rest throughout the day. And honestly, I would say if your dog's out for a couple of hours, they should probably go in their crate for an hour or two at the least. Like we wouldn't let our 9-month-old baby or our 2-year-old toddler to just go. Like we would stop them and have them rest. Same thing for our puppies. They're going to grow happier and healthier if they get that rest, and they're going to be less likely to reach their threshold and start having temperamental issues or getting grumpy if they actually get that rest. And also, they're learning with every experience that they have with you. So the crate time is almost like we call soak time. So that's the time where their brain can process the information that they've taken in since their last crate time or rest or whatever. So crate time is super great for just the health of your dog and development, as well as helping with the potty training and learning your dog's signals. As for what those signals can look like, it's different for every dog. A lot of dogs will circle when they're trying to find a spot to pee. Other dogs will start to slow their walk, or they'll hunch their back, or they'll start sniffing a lot. That's a very common one. When dogs start to learn that they need to go, they'll oftentimes go to the door that takes them outside. So for that reason, I recommend when you're potty training, if at all possible, only use one doorway. So if you have 3 doors that go to the outside, you pick one of them and use that consistently so that your dog knows they don't have to process any information to figure out where do I go when that sensation, I have to go potty, comes to them. They know this is the spot I go. So it becomes more reflexive if you use the same door all the time. But learning your dog, if your dog is always within your space and you can see them and you see what they do before they have to go potty every time, you'll learn their signals very quickly. Like probably within a few days, you'll know exactly when your dog has to go. Whereas you miss those signals if your dog's able to be in a different room or behind the wall, or you don't see them until after they go. So that's the biggest thing, is just being able to supervise all the time. And I know that may sound like a lot of work. It is. Potty training isn't easy for kids or for dogs, but it's a necessary thing that we all have to do to make sure that we don't have to deal with pottying inside all the time. So I hope this video helps. If it does, let me know. If it doesn't, let me know. If I wasn't clear on anything, I'd be glad to do another video and elaborate or give some more tips. Thanks. See ya.